Good morning, it's Chrissy from Up the Windy Lane. Welcome to my kitchen. We're going to make that plantain salve today. I'm going to make it just a little bit different than I made the comfrey salve, but it's going to be really similar. So let's get that done before the grandbabies get here. So the comfrey salve, I melted everything together, then added the powder and let it sit. This one we're actually going to heat on the stove a little bit. I just wrote down some really quick notes. I'm going to put all that in a double boiler and we're going to simmer that for just a little bit, probably about 30 minutes. We're going to try it and see how that works. I've heard anywhere from 30 minutes to like 48 hours to let it sit, and you can let this sit in oil, the dried plantain, for like 4 to 6 weeks and let it naturally infuse just over a long period of time. Or you can do it like I'm doing it, speed it up a little bit and put a little bit of heat on it. We're not going to actually get it really hot to boiling because we don't want to destroy the medicinal properties, but we are going to heat this up on the stove today. This is the plantain that I have. You'll notice that I wrote that on there so I didn't forget. This is, and I kind of crushed it up. It is not powderized like the other one was. And so I'm going to go ahead and put oil in here, and I'm probably going to fill this almost all the way up with oil. So I have about I have about a cup of dried plantain in this pint jar. We're going to fill that up. If you're using fresh, you probably want to use about twice that amount. Now you could heat it on the stove if you're doing fresh. Similar to, well, actually just like what we're going to get ready to do with this dry, you're just going to use a little bit more. All right, so I just bought organic olive oil from Aldi actually the other day, and you can use any skin neutral oil that you wanted to use. It would be this a lot faster if I took that little plastic thing out, wouldn't it? There we go. Much faster. All right. Probably should put that back in there. I used almost that whole bottle of oil. Alright, so now we have our plantain in there. I am gonna just kind of mix that up a little bit. Alright, and we're gonna put it in our double boiler. I used this to measure, but I'm actually gonna use this to do the double boiler in, just because this fits better for me and it doesn't tip over. You do not have to do that. We're just going to pour all that in there, and then we're going to get this heated up and going to let it simmer for about 30 minutes, kind of keeping an eye on the temperature. I don't want to turn it up too high. All right, while we're waiting on that to heat up behind us, we're going to go ahead and get the rest of what we need because I didn't get it all together to start with. We're going to get our strainer and probably some cheesecloth, and I'm just going to strain it back into the pint jar into there and let it get all the goods out of it, and then I'll compost the rest, and then we'll get the tins out and probably put it in tins. I haven't decided if I'm going to put it in tins or if I have these little half-cup mason jars, I might put them in there. If you watched my video on wild lettuce, you'll know that I do not have a battery for my scale. I have yet to do that. So I had to look up how much approximately 1 ounce of beeswax is, and it is approximately 1/4 cup. So we're gonna measure that and put that in a little glass bowl and kind of set that to the side for right now. So here's our 1/4 cup. We're just gonna get some of these little beeswax and just put them right here. And so that will be ready, and then we get our other stuff ready. So it looks like our temperature is actually getting a little too hot, and so we're going to move that off the stove and go ahead and set our timer and keep an eye on that. So I'm going to infuse this for about 30 minutes, not 40. And just keep an eye on the temperature. Let's see what it actually got up to. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, well, that's a little bit higher than what I was wanting it, but so actually it may be good off the stove for the 30 minutes. Okay, so that's what happens when you try to do more than one thing at a time, like I normally do. Yeah, I had to make some phone calls, make some dog appointments, and that's what happens. So It didn't get too hot, so that's okay. Here, yeah, one of them in the background. We have that new puppy. And so I'm just going to let it sit there for 30 minutes. Grandbabies are on their way. Yeah, it's never boring around here. I'm just saying. So the grandbabies are on their way. So this will let this sit and let this infuse. And then we'll get the beeswax in there, get that melted, pour it in the tins, and then we'll have some plantain salve. All right, the grandbabies are here. So this rest of this video could get kind of interesting. I let this sit probably for like 45 minutes. The timer did go off before we went outside. And now we're back inside, and it's probably been a good 45 minutes total. So we do have this ready. We're gonna strain this, and then we're gonna melt the beeswax and get that added. So this was still about 115 degrees, so still pretty warm. I am putting this through a strainer with, I didn't have cheesecloth, so I'm just using an old t-shirt that has been cleaned and washed, so it doesn't drip through as fast. So this is probably going to take a little bit longer than what I had planned, but I'm going to go ahead and try to get most of the oil just to go through, and then the plant matter will be last. That way it doesn't get all clogged up. We got to the end, and I just put the rest of the plant matter in there, and we're just going to squeeze as much oil as we can out. Now, I'm not really sure about this method, this quicker method, because the herbs are still pretty crunchy. So, I don't know. We'll see how this one works. I'm definitely going to write all this down and make some notes about how I feel about this. And we'll see how well the actual oil works. I don't know. I guess that's all you can do. Now that we've got that strained, I'm just going to pour this back in here. Okay, we got that, and I have the beeswax, so we're going to add the beeswax. Now we're just going to put it back in the double boiler, heat it up just enough to get the beeswax to melt. So it's not going to be very high heat, and it's already warm, so it probably shouldn't take too long. Now that you've added beeswax, you definitely want to use utensils that you don't mind getting beeswax on, or that you can get beeswax off, because beeswax is pretty hard to get off of stuff whenever it gets on there. It does leave a nice film, and you have to really boil the water down and get it going. So I'm just going to use just a regular old metal spoon to stir it up, and then once we get the beeswax melted, we can put it into the tins and let it harden up. Right, so the salve is ready to be poured into the tins. It's been a little crazy here, not gonna lie. So let's get this poured. Hopefully I have enough tins. If not, then I'll break out some of my little mason jars, but I think I'm just gonna use the tins for now. All right, let's see if I can do this. Gonna have a little bit of plant matter, and that's okay. I'm just filling them up to that first little notch, and then if I have some left over, I'm gonna come back and fill them up more. So I have just a little bit extra. If you want to be really fancy, you get a little piece of dried matter and kind of put on there. All right, there we go. So those two items, the spoon and this measuring cup, will be set aside. I will have to clean that better because it does have beeswax in it. But now we have these tins. We have 5 of them. I don't know. I want to say these are probably 4-ounce tins, maybe. Be like, yeah, probably something like that. Anyways, okay. So I'm kind of surprised that we got that done with the grandbabies here. I've got dogs that have require, like, it's been a crazy day. I'm just telling you, it's been crazy. So I'm gonna let this cool, and then I'll show you what it looks like. We'll get the tops on them. We'll label them. Make sure we label them so we know what they are, and then we'll test them out on bug bites and scratches and things, and see if it works, and see if it actually has the good stuff from that plantain in the oil. Not completely hard yet, but it is getting more solid. still a little warm. This takes, I guess, depends on how warm your house is or how cool. So should take about 30 minutes or so. I won't really know if this particular recipe works super well until we give it a try after, which shouldn't take very long because it is summer and we walk outside of an evening and usually get mosquito bites or scratches in the garden or whatever it might be. So I'm definitely going to be trying this out in the next few days and see if it makes a difference or not, see if that's really infused. If not, I can always melt that back down and re-infuse that and add some more to it, or even add an extra herb or two to it as well. I'm enjoying showing you these salve recipes and learning along with you as I show them to you. So be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to be lovely lights today.